Everyone thought Lisa had the perfect life. At 32 years old, she had everything figured out. She was a successful lawyer at one of the city's top firms, owned a beautiful home in the nicest part of town, and had been married to her husband Robert for 7 years. From the outside, her life looked like something out of a magazine. But here's the thing about perfect lives. They're exhausting to keep up. And sometimes, they're not real at all. Lisa first noticed something was wrong about 6 months ago. It wasn't anything dramatic at first. Just small things that didn't quite add up. Robert started coming home later than usual. He said it was work, always work. New projects, important meetings, clients who needed attention. Lisa believed him because, well, why wouldn't she? They had built their marriage on trust. Then came the phone calls. Robert would step out of the room to answer his phone, his voice dropping to a whisper. When Lisa walked in, he'd quickly end the conversation. Just work stuff, he'd say with a smile. Nothing interesting. But his eyes never quite met hers when he said it. The business trips became more frequent too. Boston, Chicago, Atlanta. Sometimes he'd be gone for 3 or 4 days at a time. Lisa remembered their early years together when Robert hated traveling for work. He used to complain about hotel rooms and airport food. Now he seemed almost eager to pack his bags and leave. One evening, Lisa was doing laundry when she found it. A receipt tucked in Robert's jacket pocket. Dinner for 2 at an expensive restaurant downtown. The date on the receipt was from last Tuesday. The same Tuesday Robert had told her he was working late at the office. Lisa stood there in their bedroom holding that piece of paper, her mind racing. She could have confronted him right then. Most people would have. But Lisa wasn't most people. Her job had taught her to think carefully, to gather facts before making any moves. So she put the receipt back exactly where she found it, and said nothing. Over the next few weeks, Lisa started paying closer attention. She noticed the new cologne Robert had started wearing. She saw how he'd angled his phone away from her when checking messages. She watched as he came home with guilt written all over his face, trying too hard to be cheerful and attentive. The breaking point came on a Thursday evening. Robert was supposed to be in Boston for a conference. Lisa was working late at her office when she received an email from an unknown sender. No message, just a subject line that read, "You should know," and 3 photos attached. Her hand shook as she opened them. There was Robert, clear as day, walking into a hotel in their own city. Not Boston, their city. And he wasn't alone. The woman with him was young, probably in her mid-20s. She was laughing at something Robert had said, her hand on his arm. The way they looked at each other made Lisa's stomach turn. But what really made her feel sick was recognizing the woman. It was Amy, her junior colleague at the firm. The same Amy that Lisa had mentored for the past 2 years. The same Amy she had recommended for a promotion just 3 months ago. The same Amy who sat in their office kitchen and asked Lisa for relationship advice. Lisa sat in her office chair, staring at those photos for what felt like hours. Her first instinct was to call Robert, to scream at him, to demand answers. Her second instinct was to drive to that hotel and confront them both. But she did neither. Instead, she closed her laptop slowly. She packed her things, turned off her office light, and drove home through the quiet city streets. When she got home, the house felt different somehow. Empty. Cold. Like it wasn't really her home anymore. Lisa walked through the rooms, seeing them with new eyes. The couch where she and Robert used to watch movies together. The kitchen where they'd cooked breakfast on Sunday mornings. The photos on the walls showing them laughing, hugging, looking happy. Had any of it been real? Or had she been living in a dream this whole time? She found herself standing in the living room as the sun began to set. The evening light was streaming through the windows, making everything look golden and peaceful. But Lisa didn't feel peaceful. She felt something else entirely, something cold and focused. She walked to the window and looked out at the street. A jogger ran past. A neighbor was watering their garden. Life was going on normally for everyone else. But for Lisa, everything had changed. She reached up and slowly closed the curtains, watching as the room fell into shadow. In the dim light, she caught her reflection in the dark glass. And for a moment, she didn't recognize herself. Her face looked different, harder. Her jaw was set in a way she'd never seen before, and her mouth, it had curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. It was something else, something dangerous. Lisa had always been the good girl, the one who followed rules, who did things the right way, who believed in fairness and honesty. She had built her career on integrity. She had built her marriage on trust and loyalty, and look where that had gotten her. Standing there in the darkness of her living room, Lisa made a decision. She wasn't going to cry. She wasn't going to fall apart. She wasn't going to confront Robert in some emotional scene that would make her look crazy or desperate. No, she was going to do something different. She was going to be smart about this. She was going to use every skill she'd learned in her years as a lawyer. She was going to gather evidence, build a case, and make sure that when this was over, she would be the one standing strong. Robert thought he was clever, sneaking around behind her back. Amy thought she was special, stealing another woman's husband. They both thought Lisa was clueless, too busy with work to notice what was happening right under her nose. They were wrong. Lisa turned away from the window and walked to her home office. She opened her laptop and created a new folder. She labeled it simply Evidence and saved those photos inside. Then she started making notes. Dates, times, inconsistencies in Robert's stories. She was methodical, organized, calm. Her phone buzzed with a text from Robert. "Conference going great, miss you. Be home Saturday." Lisa stared at the message. The lie was so casual, so easy for him. She wondered how many other lies he'd told her over the months, maybe even years. She typed back a simple response. "Miss you too. Drive safe." She added a heart emoji, just like she always did. Let him think everything was normal. Let him think he was getting away with it, because here's what Robert didn't know about his wife. Lisa hadn't become a successful lawyer by being naive or weak. She had won cases that seemed impossible. She had faced down opponents who tried to intimidate her. She knew how to play the long game, how to be patient, how to strike at exactly the right moment, and she was about to teach both Robert and Amy a lesson they would never forget. That night, Lisa slept better than she had in months. Not because she was happy, but because she finally had a purpose. She wasn't a victim anymore. She was someone with a plan, and tomorrow she would start putting that plan into action. The woman who had closed those curtains wasn't the same woman who had opened them that morning. Something had shifted, changed, hardened. The perfect life was over. But maybe, just maybe, a better one was about to begin. Lisa woke up the next morning with absolute clarity. While most people in her situation would be drowning in emotion, she felt strangely calm. Maybe it was her lawyer brain kicking in, or maybe it was survival instinct. Either way, she knew exactly what she needed to do. First thing, she made herself coffee and sat down with her laptop. She wasn't going to confront Robert. Not yet, that would be too easy, too quick. No, she needed to understand exactly what she was dealing with. She needed facts, evidence, the complete picture. She started by going through their financial records, bank statements, credit card bills, investment accounts. Robert had always handled most of their finances, saying he enjoyed it and was good with numbers. Lisa had trusted him and focused on her own career. Now, as she dug deeper, she realized that trust had been a mistake. She found charges she didn't recognize, expensive dinners at restaurants she'd never been to, hotel bookings in cities where Robert claimed to be staying with clients, jewelry purchases she'd never received. The evidence was everywhere once she started looking. But what really caught her attention was something else entirely. Robert had opened a separate credit card account 6 months ago, one she didn't know about. The statements weren't coming to their home address. He'd set up a P.O. box that she'd never heard of. Lisa felt her pulse quicken as she dug into this hidden account. The charges told a story. Regular payments to the same hotel. Expensive gifts from boutiques she recognized. Even a weekend trip to a beach resort that happened during one of Robert's supposed business conferences. He wasn't just having an affair. He was living a completely separate life with their money. With her money too, since they had joint accounts. Lisa saved everything, creating organized folders on her personal laptop. She took screenshots, downloaded statements, documented everything with the same precision she used for her biggest cases. If this ended up in divorce court, and she was pretty sure it would, she wanted an airtight case. Next, she needed professional help. Not the emotional kind, though maybe that would come later. She needed information that she couldn't get on her own. Lisa spent the morning researching private investigators. She was careful, reading reviews, checking credentials, making sure whoever she hired was discreet and professional. She finally settled on a woman named Patricia, who ran her own investigation agency and had excellent reviews from other lawyers. The meeting with Patricia was straightforward. Lisa explained the situation without drama or tears. She showed the photos, explained the lies, and laid out what she needed to know. Patricia listened carefully, taking notes, asking practical questions. "I don't just need proof of the affair," Lisa told her. "I need to know everything. His finances, his business dealings, anything that might be relevant. My husband is smart, and I have a feeling there's more going on than just cheating." Patricia nodded. "In my experience, when someone is comfortable lying about one big thing, they're usually comfortable lying about others. We'll dig deep. Give me 2 weeks." While Patricia did her work, Lisa had to keep up appearances at home and at work. And that meant dealing with Amy. Walking into the office that Monday was one of the hardest things Lisa had ever done. She had to look at Amy, smile at her, make small talk in the break room, all while knowing what was really going on. But Lisa was determined not to show her hand. Amy seemed nervous around her that week, which almost made Lisa laugh. The girl had reason to be nervous, though she didn't know just how much trouble she was really in. Lisa watched her carefully. She noticed how Amy checked her phone constantly, always angling it away from view. She saw how Amy sometimes left the office for long lunch breaks that stretched into 2 hours. She observed the new confidence in Amy's walk, the expensive handbag that definitely wasn't in a junior lawyer's budget. But Lisa played it cool. She even pulled Amy aside one afternoon to praise her work on a recent case. "You're really developing into a strong lawyer," Lisa told her, watching Amy's face carefully. "I'm glad I've been able to mentor you." Amy's smile faltered just slightly. "Thank you," she managed. "That means a lot coming from you." "I bet it does," Lisa thought but didn't say. At home, things were equally challenging. Robert came back from his conference full of energy and attention. He brought Lisa flowers, suggested they go out for dinner, even offered to cook her favorite meal. Lisa recognized it for what it was: guilt. Robert was trying to ease his conscience by being extra nice. It was almost insulting how predictable he was. She played along, though. She smiled, accepted the flowers, agreed to dinner. She even let him think his efforts were working. "You seem different," she told him one evening. "More present." "I like it." Robert looked relieved. "I've been thinking about us a lot lately," he said, and Lisa had to work hard not to react. "I want to make sure we don't lose what we have." "Me too," Lisa said softly, wondering if he heard the irony in her voice. 2 weeks later, Patricia called with her report. "You'll want to sit down for this," she said. Lisa met her at a quiet coffee shop across town, far from anywhere she might run into someone she knew. Patricia handed her a thick folder, and Lisa's hands actually trembled as she opened it. The affair was documented in detail. Photos, timestamps, hotel records. Patricia had been thorough. But that wasn't the shocking part. "Your husband has been hiding money," Patricia told her quietly. "Significant amounts. He set up accounts in his name only, moving funds gradually over the past 3 years. There's also evidence of some questionable business dealings. I'm not a financial expert, but some of these investments look suspicious. You might want to show this to someone who specializes in financial law." Lisa felt cold as she flipped through the papers. Robert wasn't just cheating on her. He was preparing to leave her, and he'd been planning it for years. He was moving their money where she couldn't touch it. And apparently, he was involved in some business activities that might actually be illegal. "There's one more thing," Patricia said hesitantly. "The woman he's seeing? Amy, she's not the first. I found evidence of at least 2 other affairs over the past 4 years. Shorter ones, but they definitely happened." Lisa closed the folder carefully. 4 years of lies, maybe more. Their entire marriage had been a fraud. "Thank you," she said to Patricia. "This is exactly what I needed." That evening, Lisa sat in her home office with all the evidence spread out before her. She felt like a general planning a campaign. Because that's what this was now, a war, and she intended to win. She started making lists: what she needed to protect, what she needed to expose, who she needed to talk to. She contacted a divorce lawyer, one of the best in the state, and scheduled a confidential consultation. She met with a financial advisor to understand how to protect her assets. She also did something else. She started building relationships with some of Robert's colleagues. Casual conversations at work events, friendly emails about industry news. She was careful to keep it professional, but she was gathering information about Robert's business dealings. One of his colleagues, a man named Kevin, seemed particularly concerned about some recent decisions Robert had been making. "Between you and me, Kevin told her at a networking event. "Some of Robert's investment choices have been questionable lately. I've been wondering if everything's okay with him." Lisa filed that information away. If Robert's own colleagues were worried, there was definitely something wrong. 3 months after finding those photos, Lisa had assembled a complete picture. She knew about the affairs, the hidden money, the suspicious business deals. She had documentation of everything. She'd secured her own finances and prepared for what came next. Robert suspected nothing. He'd actually been more relaxed lately, probably thinking he'd gotten away with everything. Amy seemed more comfortable too, more bold in her secret relationship. They had no idea what was coming. Lisa looked at all her carefully organized files and felt that same dangerous feeling from the night she'd closed the curtains. She was ready. The trap was set. She just needed to decide exactly when and how to spring it. And she was going to make sure that when she did, the impact would be devastating. Lisa spent the next few weeks moving her pieces into place like a chess master planning the endgame. Every decision was calculated. Every action had a purpose. She wasn't acting out of anger anymore. This was something colder, more focused. This was strategy. Her first move was subtle. She started mentioning to Robert that she'd been approached about a partnership opportunity at a firm in Seattle. It wasn't true, but Robert didn't know that. "Seattle?" Robert said over dinner one night, and Lisa noticed how his fork paused halfway to his mouth. "That's across the country." "I know," Lisa said casually. "It's just in the discussion phase. They reached out because of that corporate merger case I won last year. The offer is pretty incredible, though. Partnership track, significant salary increase, the whole package." She watched Robert's face carefully. He was trying to look supportive, but she could see the panic in his eyes. This wasn't part of his plan. Whatever he'd been scheming, it involved them staying exactly where they were. "Well, that's flattering," Robert said slowly. "But what about us? What about our life here?" Lisa shrugged. "I don't know. It's worth considering, don't you think? Sometimes change can be good." Over the next few days, she made sure Robert saw her looking at real estate listings in Seattle on her laptop. She left a notepad out with notes about the opportunity. She even had a friend call while Robert was home, and Lisa made sure he overheard her discussing the offer enthusiastically. The effect was immediate. Robert suddenly became the most attentive husband in the world. He suggested they go away for a romantic weekend. He talked about their future together, their plans, how much he loved their life in this city. He promised to cut back on travel, to spend more time at home. Lisa agreed to the weekend trip, hiding her satisfaction. Robert was panicking, trying to keep her close, probably worried that a cross-country move would ruin whatever plans he had with Amy. She also noticed that Robert started being more careful with his phone, more secretive about his accounts. He was probably trying to hide his tracks even better, worried that a big life change might expose his secrets. Perfect. When people panic, they make mistakes. Meanwhile, Lisa was making moves at work too. She'd been documenting Amy's behavior carefully. The long lunches, the personal calls during work hours, the times she'd used company resources for personal matters. Lisa had also discovered something interesting. Amy had shared confidential client information with Robert on at least 3 occasions. That was a serious ethics violation, one that could cost Amy her license to practice law. Lisa compiled everything into a detailed report, but she didn't submit it yet. She was waiting for the right moment. She needed everything to happen at once. A coordinated strike that would leave no room for Robert or Amy to maneuver. The romantic weekend Robert had planned turned out to be quite the performance. He'd booked them into an expensive resort a few hours from the city. The same resort, Lisa's research had revealed, where he'd taken Amy just 2 months earlier. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so insulting. Lisa played along beautifully. She smiled. She laughed at his jokes. She let him hold her hand during walks on the beach. And when Robert talked about their future, about growing old together, about the life they were building, Lisa nodded and agreed. Inside, she was counting down. She'd already scheduled the meetings, prepared the documents, planned every detail. It was all set to happen the following week. Robert thought this weekend was about saving their marriage. He had no idea it was actually a goodbye. On their last night at the resort, they had dinner at the hotel restaurant. Robert ordered champagne and made a toast about new beginnings. Lisa raised her glass and smiled at him across the table. "To us," Robert said. "To truth," Lisa replied, and clinked her glass against his. Robert didn't catch the real meaning in her words. He was too busy feeling relieved, thinking he'd successfully convinced her to stay, to keep their life exactly as it was. The drive home was quiet. Robert held her hand and talked about planning a real vacation, maybe Europe in the summer. Lisa let him talk, watching the highway lights pass by in the darkness. When they got home, Robert was relaxed in a way Lisa hadn't seen in months. He actually thought he'd pulled it off. He thought he'd kept his affair hidden, his wife happy, and his secrets safe. He had no idea that everything he thought was secure was about to come crashing down. Monday morning arrived bright and clear. Lisa woke up early, showered, dressed in her most professional suit. She chose her lucky earrings, the ones she always wore when she had a big case to win. Robert was still sleeping when she left for work. She paused at the bedroom door, looking back at him one last time. Part of her felt sad. Not for what she was about to do, but for the years she'd wasted believing in something that wasn't real. Then she closed the door and walked away. At her office, Lisa had a brief meeting with her boss and the head of HR. She presented her detailed report about Amy's ethics violations, her misuse of company resources, and most damning of all, her sharing of confidential client information. "This is serious," her boss said, reviewing the documents. "We'll need to launch an immediate investigation." "I know," Lisa said calmly. "I wanted to bring it to your attention properly. Professional ethics are important to me." At exactly 9 in the morning, Lisa's divorce lawyer filed the papers. They would be delivered to Robert at his office within the hour. At 9:15, Lisa's financial advisor submitted a detailed report to Robert's firm about some concerning investment patterns she'd noticed, purely in the interest of protecting clients, of course. The firm would be obligated to investigate. At 9:30, Lisa sat down with Amy and HR. Amy walked in confused, probably thinking this was just a routine meeting. "Amy," Lisa began calmly, "we need to discuss some serious concerns about your conduct." She watched Amy's face drain of color as the HR director laid out the evidence. The misuse of resources, the ethics violations, the confidential information that had been improperly shared. "I don't understand," Amy stammered. "Where is this coming from?" Lisa looked her directly in the eyes. "From someone who trusted you, someone who mentored you and believed in you, someone whose life you tried to destroy." Amy's face went white. She knew. Finally, she understood. By noon, Lisa's carefully constructed plan was in full motion. Robert's accounts were under investigation. Amy was suspended pending a full review, and divorce papers had been served. Lisa sat in her office eating lunch calmly while her phone exploded with calls and messages from Robert. She didn't answer. Not yet. Let him panic. Let him scramble. Let him feel what it was like when your whole world suddenly fell apart. Her colleague from down the hall stuck his head in her office. "Hey, you okay?" "I heard about you and Robert, I'm sorry." Lisa smiled. "Don't be. I'm better than okay. I'm free." And for the first time in months, she actually felt that way. The weight of pretending, of maintaining the perfect facade, of living with lies had been exhausting. Now, it was over. Her phone buzzed again. Another call from Robert. This time, she answered. "How could you?" he said immediately, his voice shaking with anger and panic. "How could you do this to me?" Lisa leaned back in her chair. "That's an interesting question, Robert. How could I discover that my husband was cheating on me, stealing our money, and possibly breaking the law and then actually do something about it?" "You've ruined everything," he said. "No," Lisa corrected him. "You ruined everything. I just made sure everyone else knew about it." She hung up before he could respond. There was nothing more to say. The next few days were chaos. Robert tried everything. He called. He showed up. At her office, he sent emails full of apologies and excuses and promises to change. Lisa ignored all of it. She'd heard enough lies. Amy left the firm. Whether she quit or was fired, Lisa didn't know and didn't care. The professional consequences of her actions were Amy's problem now. Robert's firm launched a full investigation into his business dealings. Some of his investments turned out to be even worse than Lisa had suspected. He was facing serious professional consequences, possibly legal ones too, and through it all, Lisa remained calm. She met with her lawyer, organized her finances, and started planning her actual future, the one that didn't include a lying husband or a fake perfect life. She'd set the trap perfectly and everyone had walked right into it. Now she was watching from a safe distance as the consequences played out exactly as she'd planned. The woman, who had closed those curtains all those months ago, had been lost and hurt. The woman standing now was something else entirely. Someone stronger. Someone who had learned that sometimes the best revenge wasn't about being cruel. It was simply about exposing the truth and letting the chips fall where they may, and the chips were definitely falling. The weeks following what some of her friends had started calling the reckoning were strange ones for Lisa. She'd expected to feel victorious, triumphant even. Instead, she felt something more complicated. Relief mixed with exhaustion, satisfaction tinged with sadness. Her lawyer had advised her to move out of the house she'd shared with Robert. "It'll be better for the proceedings," the lawyer said. "Cleaner." So Lisa found herself apartment hunting, something she hadn't done since before she got married. She found a place on the other side of town. Smaller than the house, but it had tall windows and good light. The building had security and a doorman, which felt important now. She didn't put Robert past showing up and trying to have some dramatic confrontation. Moving day was bittersweet. Lisa packed up 7 years of her life into boxes. She left behind the furniture they'd picked out together, the wedding gifts, all the things that belonged to their shared life. She only took what was truly hers. Her best friend Rachel helped her pack. Rachel had been furious when she'd learned about Robert's betrayal. "I never liked him," she'd declared, which wasn't true, but Lisa appreciated the loyalty anyway. "How are you really doing?" Rachel asked as they wrapped dishes in newspaper. Lisa paused, thinking about it. "Honestly, I don't know. Some days I feel strong and sure I did the right thing. Other days I just feel sad about all the wasted time." "That's normal," Rachel said. "You're allowed to feel sad about losing the person you thought he was. That doesn't mean you made the wrong choice." Meanwhile, Robert's life was completely unraveling. The investigation into his business practices had uncovered more problems than anyone expected. Some of his investment strategies had been pushing legal boundaries, and a few had crossed them entirely. His firm had put him on immediate leave while they conducted a full review. He'd tried to reach out to Lisa multiple times. Sometimes angry, sometimes apologetic, sometimes just desperate. She'd blocked his number eventually. There was nothing he could say that she needed to hear. The divorce proceedings moved forward. Robert tried to fight it at first, claiming they could work things out, go to counseling, start fresh. His lawyer seemed to realize quickly that this was a losing battle. The evidence Lisa had compiled was overwhelming. "He wants to settle," Lisa's lawyer told her at one of their meetings. "He's asking for a mediation to divide assets without going to court." Lisa considered it. A court battle would be public, messy. It would drag everything out into the open. Part of her wanted that. Wanted everyone to know exactly what Robert had done. But another part of her just wanted it to be over. "What are his terms?" she asked. The settlement Robert proposed was laughably one-sided. He wanted to keep most of their assets, claiming he'd been the primary earner. He wanted to keep the house. He even had the nerve to ask for spousal support from her. Lisa actually laughed when she read it. "He's not serious," her lawyer smiled grimly. "He's desperate. His career is in shambles. He's facing possible legal charges, and he knows you have evidence of everything. This is a Hail Mary." Lisa's counteroffer was precise and fair but firm. She wanted her share of all marital assets, including the money Robert had tried to hide. She wanted half the value of their house. She wanted her name removed from all joint debts and accounts, and she wanted it all documented and finalized quickly. "If he doesn't accept this," she told her lawyer, "we go to court, and I present everything. Every affair, every hidden account, every questionable business dealing. His choice. Robert accepted the settlement within a week. Work was its own complicated situation. The firm had handled the Amy situation quietly, but rumors had spread anyway. Lisa found herself the subject of office gossip, which she hated. Some people looked at her with pity. Others seemed to admire what she'd done. A few avoided her altogether. Uncomfortable with the whole messy situation, her boss called her in for a private meeting about a month after everything had gone down. "How are you holding up?" he asked, genuinely concerned. "I'm managing," Lisa said. "I know this has been disruptive for the firm." "I'm sorry about that." He waved a hand dismissively. "You did the right thing reporting Amy's violations. That's not something to apologize for. I wanted to talk to you about something else." He explained that the firm had been impressed with how she'd handled everything. Her professionalism, her discretion, her ability to keep working through personal crisis. "We're opening a new office in Boston," he said. "We need someone to head up the corporate litigation department there. It's a promotion, significant salary increase, and honestly, it might be good for you to have a fresh start somewhere new." Lisa was stunned. "Boston? Think about it," he said. "You don't have to decide right away, but you've proven you can handle anything. I think you'd be perfect for this role. A fresh start, a new city, a chance to leave behind all the painful memories and office gossip." It was tempting, but it also felt like running away. Lisa spent a lot of time thinking over the next few weeks. She went to therapy, which helped her process everything that had happened. She reconnected with old friends she'd neglected during her marriage. She took long walks and thought about what she actually wanted from her life. The truth was, she had changed. The experience had changed her in ways both good and bad. She was stronger, yes. More self-reliant. But she was also more guarded, more cynical. She found it hard to trust people the way she used to. "That's not necessarily a bad thing," her therapist told her. "You trusted too easily before. You ignored red flags because you wanted to believe the best in people. Now you're more cautious. That's not cynicism. That's wisdom." One evening, about 2 months after everything had exploded, Lisa got an unexpected visitor. She was unpacking the last of her boxes in her new apartment when her doorman called up. "There's a woman here to see you," he said. "She says her name is Amy." Lisa's first instinct was to refuse, but curiosity got the better of her. "Send her up." Amy looked different, smaller somehow. Her confident stride was gone. She stood in Lisa's doorway looking nervous and ashamed. "I know you probably don't want to see me," Amy began. "You're right. I don't. What do you want?" Amy took a breath. "I wanted to apologize. I know it doesn't change anything, but I need to say it. What I did was wrong. Unforgivably wrong." Lisa crossed her arms. "Did Robert send you?" "No," Amy said quickly. "I haven't spoken to Robert in weeks. He won't return my calls. I think I was just as disposable to him as his marriage was." There was something satisfying about that, Lisa had to admit. "I lost everything," Amy continued. "My job, my reputation in the legal community. I'm working as a paralegal now at a small firm, and I'm lucky to have that. I deserved all of it. I just wanted you to know that I understand what I did to you. The mentorship you gave me, the trust you had in me. I destroyed that. I'm sorry." Lisa studied her for a long moment. Amy looked genuinely remorseful, but Lisa wasn't sure she cared. The apology didn't change anything. It didn't undo the betrayal or the pain. "Okay," Lisa said finally. "You apologized. Is there anything else?" Amy shook her head, tears in her eyes. "No, I just needed you to know that I'm sorry. For whatever that's worth." "It's worth very little," Lisa said honestly, "but I appreciate you saying it. Now please leave." After Amy left, Lisa poured herself a glass of wine and sat by her window, looking out at the city lights. She thought about forgiveness, about moving on, about what it meant to really heal from something like this. She didn't forgive Amy. Maybe she would someday, but not now. The wound was still too fresh. But she also realized she didn't need to forgive Amy or Robert to move forward. Their guilt or remorse wasn't what would heal her. That had to come from within. The divorce was finalized on a rainy Tuesday in November. Lisa signed the papers in her lawyer's office and it was done. 7 years of marriage ended with a signature. "How do you feel?" Rachel asked her that evening over dinner. "Free," Lisa said. And she meant it. She'd made her decision about the Boston job, too. She was taking it. Not because she was running away, but because it was a genuinely good opportunity, because she'd worked hard and deserved it, because starting fresh wasn't about escaping the past. It was about building a better future. Her last day at the office, several colleagues threw her a small goodbye party. People who'd avoided her during the scandal now came up to congratulate her on the promotion. It was awkward but nice. As Lisa cleaned out her desk that final day, she found herself thinking about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the revenge, the aftermath. Had it been worth it? Would she do it all again the same way? She thought she would, not because she'd enjoyed it, but because she'd needed to stand up for herself. She'd needed to prove that she wouldn't just be a victim, wouldn't just accept betrayal quietly. But she also knew that the version of herself who had closed those curtains with that dangerous smile was someone she didn't want to be forever. That hardness, that coldness had served a purpose. But now it was time to let some warmth back in. Her phone buzzed with a text from her real estate agent. The closing on her house had gone through. The money from the sale was in her account. It was officially over. Lisa looked around her empty office one last time, then picked up her box and walked out. The past was behind her. Boston and whatever came next was ahead. And for the first time in a long time, she felt